Think you need a small fortune and maybe a spaceship to buy your first home? Nah, that's one of the biggest myths out there and is keeping way too many people from renting, or worse, living with their parents longer than they need to. Today, I'm breaking down 3 of the biggest lies you've been told about down payments. First, big down payments, but only if you choose them. Second, saving for one. It's not the epic slog you've been told. And third, you're not doing this solo. There's plenty of help out there if you know where to look. So if you've been sitting around thinking homeownership is out of reach, stick around, because the truth about down payments, it's not what you think. If you're new here, I'm Brian Quinlan. I'm a realtor in the Indianapolis area, and I specialize in helping first-time home buyers, and that certainly includes helping them find down payment information. Stick around, because we're going to talk about these 3 myths and bust them. Let's start with the big one. Everyone says you need 20% down payment to buy a house. Spoiler alert, no you don't. In fact, there are some loan programs that actually let you buy a house with no money down at all. In a recent survey, people were asked how much of a down payment was required to buy a house. 70% of first-time home buyers think you need at least 10%. And an additional 11% on top of that have no idea how much of a down payment they need. 10% is nice. Obviously, 20% would be great, but neither of those amounts is actually required. You can get a house for significantly less. You may be surprised to learn that a typical down payment for a first-time home buyer is anywhere between 6 and 9%. I know, right? A lot less than you think. But wait, I can do even better than that. Now, I will say your down payment is dependent upon your loan type, and there are several different loan types, so let's break that down. If you're getting a conventional loan, if you're a first-time home buyer and you qualify, you could buy a house for as little as 3% down. That's right, just 3% of the purchase price. If you're not a first-time home buyer or you don't qualify, usually the smallest amount of down payment you need is 5%. And it can go up from there depending on how much money you've actually saved. You could do better than 5%. And I will say, the more of a down payment that you make, the less of a loan that you have, and probably the better percentage rate you're going to get on your loan. But we're talking about down payments, and we want to keep these as low as we possibly can. FHA is a loan that comes from the federal government. An FHA loan requires at least a 3.5% down payment. And again, you can do more if you want. You might consider a conventional loan if you're going to go higher than that, but a lot of first-time home buyers get an FHA loan, again, assuming that you qualify, at 3.5% as a down payment. And another bonus to FHA loans, the credit score is usually a little bit more lenient than it might be for a conventional loan. All of these things, by the way, you want to talk to a lender first, because they're the ones who have all the details and can talk you through which loan would be best for you. Now, if you have served in the military or are currently serving in the military, first of all, thank you for your service. And secondly, you qualify for a VA loan. And a VA loan, you can buy a house for 0% down payment. Now, it doesn't mean you don't have to pay anything, because there are closing costs involved. I just don't want you to think that it's no money down whatsoever. There are costs involved, but as far as a down payment goes, 0% for a VA loan. And the same is true for a USDA loan. Now, USDA properties generally are considered more agricultural, farmland, large open spaces out in rural counties. But it may help that if that's the kind of house you're looking for, you look and see if it qualifies for USDA, because that also 0% down along with your closing costs. So there are ways to get a house significantly less than the 10 or 20% that people have led you to believe. All right, let's break down that second lie. It's going to take forever to save up for that down payment. That's not necessarily true. The reality is it probably takes less time than you think, or you may already be there and ready to buy a house and you don't even know it. Based on average cost of homes and average income in the state of Indiana, statistically it takes about 3, maybe a little bit more than 3 years to save up for a 10% down payment. Now that's specific to Indiana. Other states, the numbers are different. But as I said at the beginning, you don't have to have a 10% down payment. You can get in for as little as 3, maybe 3.5%, depending on what you qualify for. So knowing that, realize that it is going to take some financial discipline. Okay, if you want to buy a house, you can't necessarily just go out and buy a new car, buy furniture, take lavish vacations, things like that. You have to decide what's important to you. How important is homeownership to you? And if it's at the top of your list of importance, then make that your priority when it comes to saving and spending. You're going to have to start putting money into a savings account, maybe a high yield savings account if you're, several months to maybe a year or two away, but something that's going to earn some significant interest, or just a pot of money that's going to sit there and only be touched for the down payment. There are ways to get money otherwise. Maybe that's involving a second job, a side hustle, or maybe you have family or friends who could potentially loan or just give you a gift of money that you can either use it as a direct down payment, or potentially sit in an account that again earns interest, or just wait until you have the amount of money that you need. But again, talk to a lender. Lenders will have suggestions on how you could possibly get the money that you need. They'll definitely have suggestions on rules and what's allowed when it comes to borrowing or getting gifts from family and friends, because there are tax implications for you and potentially the people who give you that money. But it's not as far away as you probably think it is. And the third lie, thinking that you're on your own in this. Nope. There are lots of down payment assistance programs available. Again, you're going to want to speak to a lender about that. And I will add, as I talk about having a conversation with a lender, you may want to consider talking to more than one lender, because different lenders do have different programs that they belong to, that they're part of, that they encourage people to use. And as I said in point number 2, there's potentially assistance from friends or family that could go a long way to helping you with the down payment that you need. And that, of course, is between you and your family and friends in terms of paying them back or not. Might be a nice gift. Down payment assistance programs can be very helpful. Now, the few down payment assistance programs that I've been a part of usually requires the buyer, or soon-to-be homeowner, to live in the house for a certain amount of time. Now, that certain amount of time could be 5, 7, I've even heard as many as 9 years, and maybe even more. And there are penalties that if you sell your house before that timing is up, that you may have to pay that kind of stuff back. Now, I don't believe every program is like that, but those are some of the more popular programs that I have seen. So you do want to read the fine print. You do want to know what you're getting into, because someone is giving you the down payment assistance. They probably have some requirements in terms of you living in the house, because they're paying a lot of money up front, and you have obligations on your end that you have to keep with, or you owe them the money back. That can be a pretty stiff penalty. So again, be sure that you're very clear on what you're getting into. So let's recap. Big down payment, not required. Gonna take forever to save for a down payment, much less than you probably think. And you're doing it alone? Certainly not. There is lots of help available. The truth is, down payment is not the walk through the deep forest that people make it out to be. There is a clearing, there is assistance, there is help available to those who need it. If you're a first-time home buyer, don't let these myths keep you stuck renting, or worse, living with your parents. Talk with a local lender, explore assistance programs, and find out what's really possible for you. You might be closer to owning a home than you think. And hey, if this video helped clear things up, hit that like button so more first-time buyers can see it. Don't forget to subscribe for more no BS real estate advice, and drop your questions in the comments. I'd love to tackle them in a future video. Thanks for watching.